I hope everyone's day is going well. I just wanted to dive into some more of the GBC and GBA catalogs for a segment I'd like to call the GameBoy Goldmine. We're looking at 5 intriguing titles, starting with SpongeBob Revenge of the Flying Dutchman. Now, I've covered the original SpongeBob handheld entry Legend of the Lost Spatula here before, so I figured it was appropriate to get my hands on a game released over a year later. Revenge is definitely an interesting story. It's a Castlevania-style platformer at heart with a mildly complex weapon system and a heavy emphasis on exploration and backtracking to find keys to complete the levels. I wanted to highlight that the intro of the game mimics the show's cold open, and seeing that as a kid in 2002 probably made somebody shit bricks. By the way, I read every comment, so don't be shy if you think I'm not understanding a game's appeal. Nonetheless, speaking of odd visuals though, how about SpongeBob's weird-ass model, or Gary sounding horrendous in this game, or Patrick recycling his PC model. I will say a lot of the animations like boxing and high crevices or doing the worm while crouching are pretty cute, and the first level is relatively harmless and eases you into the mechanics well. The main traversal and combat option in the game is the bubble system, and there's a bunch of variety in the bubble types and uses, but the difficulty and duration of gameplay per level spikes in level 2 Rock Bottom. This shit is egregious. It's fun, but it's very padded out in the runtime. I also remember that the main console port had us delivering Krusty Krab food to people. In this game, there's no visual aid for that. Not even a little to-go bag in his hand, just text boxes thanking him for his service. We run into the OG from Rock Bottom and we're finally done. I wanted to keep going after I reached the Outback, but these fucking scallops from Lost Spatula returned, and it has already been an hour of play for me, and I realized I had a migraine, so I just put the game down. So I will say, hands down, this game is half-assed in being a Castlevania-style platformer. There's no indication on where you've already been, and no map. I am not alone in my opinion that this game makes you feel hopelessly lost quite a bit. I feel this game would have been a lot better if there was a more responsive combat and a melee weapon like a spatula. I just wanted more hints of where I was going, and I feel that this game was just kind of a rush job in general. But it's a mild recommendation for me. Only check it out if you've enjoyed the show. Up next, we've got Mr. Driller, the port of the PS1 and arcade game, which itself is a Dig Dug spin-off. Very convoluted backstory here. Regardless, this game is simply fun. There's a lot of that classic Namco charm here, and as somebody who's never played the game before in any form, I was hooked. It's very addictive and presented in such an enticing, colorful, and meticulous way. Basically, the goal is to drill as deep as you can whilst avoiding being crushed. And it seems simple, but blocks are sized variably, and there's these X blocks that are much heavier and harder to break, so you must find the most optimal route possible. It's very complex, but it's instantaneous at the same time. Your progress is indicated in your depth meter, and the feeling of accomplishment when you break through the floor to the next level is great. Honestly, this is a great little time waster for me, and I would wholeheartedly recommend Mr. Driller on GBC. It's my favorite game I've covered in this video. Now we're gonna dive into Ghosts and Goblins for the Game Boy Color. This is a port of the 1985 Capcom arcade classic that was a defining NES game back in the day. To my knowledge, nothing here is compromised here aside from the screen crunch, which is expected on such a limited console. But this game is hard as fuck. It's a classic for sure, but beating this game is harder than nailing yourself to the fucking cross. So the story is pretty simple. You're getting married and the fucking devil steals your bride. So you've got to trek through 6 of the campiest and spookiest levels known to gaming. And the enemies are so cute. Zombies, the red ghastly looking guys that are kinda annoying, the Venus flytraps, and the crows. You even get to murk the devil that stole your wife pretty early on. But the whole no checkpoints, 3 lives, and only 2 fucking health points thing is very rough. So I'm just gonna be Mr. Cheater and use save states. But there's a bunch of different weapons here, and you're gonna start running and gunning with the javelin looking thing, but you can grab the fire with some vertical platforming. The first level is a battle within itself, and you've got like a dozen ghastlies up in the sky, and then this big ass unicorn. What the fuck kind of unicorn is that? That's a damn Cyclops. He's relatively easy though. You just gotta pick your spots and evade those red balls. And we're on to level 2. And this level is on crack. It's a nice level, it's very addictive, but those flying monkeys are ridiculous. The fly traps are back, so that's great. But the fucking cherry on top is just when you think you're finally making progress, you get on the platform and it drops instantly. The jumping is slightly delayed, so it's near impossible to me. I know I probably just suck at this game, so I just tapped the hell out. I couldn't take it anymore. But I really enjoyed my time with this one. I'd recommend the NES port though, because you have a better field of view there. Moving on, we've got Catwoman. And what the hell? This is such an out of left field game. I've never seen anyone bring this game up. Why the fuck was this made? It was 4 years prior to Halle Berry's disappointing Catwoman film, and it seemingly had no impact as a standalone game. Regardless, the intro cutscene is cool. We're chasing an artifact coveted by Ra's al Ghul's daughter, and I really like Catwoman's visuals here. This is classic Selena Kyle here for sure, but the gameplay is kinda meh. Her sprite is so tiny and skinny, and the controls are so confusing and non-responsive, and the agility for a character like this is just not there. We got a bionic commando grappling hook and a melee attack that can decapacitate both security guards and fucking dogs. I'll be honest, the reception of this game has been very mixed. IGN hated it, but the fans enjoyed it, so I'm kinda torn. Unfortunately though, I wasn't torn enough to keep playing here. This game just didn't grab my attention. I guess it's my fault, but I can't say I recommend Catwoman.
No matter how dangerous the adventure,
Somebody prep for ER right now!
no matter how villainous the villain,
You'll be okay, sir. You're back at the ER.
he'll risk it all.
Our final game here will be the peculiar Frogger 2. Frogger is essentially a pick-up-and-play arcade-style gameplay at its finest. This game is such a good little time waster, and it's definitely got a little difficulty curve too. You're cruising around for the first few levels or so, but after the oil slick level, it's pretty much all hands on deck. You got rows of bulldozers, snakes, disappearing turtles, and alternating lily pads, and it's all just 8-bit chaos. I really enjoyed my time with Frogger 2. It's a fun challenge for sure, but I wasn't compelled to go all too deep into it. I'd say it's a light recommendation. Thank you everyone for watching.